Hello everyone. For today's video, we will be tackling about people-centered development. Basically, we are going to talk about the concepts of this theory, its importance, and a brief history about this theory. Let's start off by knowing exactly what is people-centered development. From the word people-centered is a design and a practice where designers focus on specific people's needs, taking the time to learn from particular populations. People-centered is a human-centered design principles. Designers can co-create proper solutions when they live among their target groups, tap their insights, and find real issues. Okay, next, what is people-centered development? People-centered development is an approach to international development that focuses on improving local communities. So the communities itself, self-reliance, social justice, and participatory decision making. So basically, it's important to have proper decisions. It recognizes that economic growth does not inherently contribute to human development. This calls for a change in social, political, and environmental values and practices. This states that changes within ourselves, social, political outlook, environmental values, and practices will help us improve our overall being, thus achieve human development. So basically, we need to improve all the things that contributes our growth. The concept of people-centered development places the ultimate objective of development in helping humankind to lead an affluent and happy life. The concept of people-centeredness is to stress the fact that development requires that the people themselves, or us, who are meant to be the beneficiaries of development initiatives, be placed in the forefront and fully involved in any projects or programs which aims to assist us. So basically, it needs our participation. To see that people-centered perspective as providing a new paradigm which is vital or very important in the process of learning, growth, and development, empowerment of local people is to be achieved. This requires their complete participation or involvement, which implies that sharing and working together, and most importantly, for outsiders working with them also, is to simply trust their skills and abilities. So in order for our community to grow. And according to the United Nations Development Program in the year 2010, human development is about expanding the choices available to people in order to live valuable lives, and this statement truly reflects the foundation and fundamental aspects of people-centered development. It is that people should be at the core of the human development, so pinaka-center, both as drivers and the recipients, regardless whether in groups or individuals. So the main idea here is to promote people-centered development. So basically, we need to work as humans to have our benefits. What is the importance of people-centered development? The concept of people-centered development places the ultimate objective of development in helping humankind to lead an affluent and happy life. So basically, it points out that we need to be the drivers of change in order for us to have benefits and a happy life. So in 1984, David Corten, a former regional advisor to the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, proposed a people-centered development strategy that incorporated the values of justice, sustainability, and inclusiveness. According to Corten, the prevailing growth-focused development strategy is unstable and inequitable. He calls for transformations of our institutions, technologies, values, and behavior consistent with our ecological and social realities. So this was actually published in 1989. The Manila Declaration on the People's Participation and Sustainable Development sets forth principles and guidelines for enacting these transformations. The concept of people-centered development gained recognition at several international development conferences in the year 1990s, such as the Earth Summit in 1992, the International Conference on Population and Development or the ICPD in 1994, and the Summit for Social Development of the year 1995. The concept was first widely promoted in United Nations Development Program or the UNDP Human Development Report in the 1990s, in which countries' level of development was measured by the Human Development Index or HDI. The UNDP's report deems economic growth, which is a necessary mean to achieve sustainable development. The Japan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs stated in its 1996 Official Development Assistance or ODA report that the objective of people-centered development is to simply help humankind lead an affluent and happy life, and also shaping the 21st century. This is a report published by the Development of Assistance Committee or the DAC of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development or the OECD in 1996. This made people-centered development a target policy for all the member countries. It stressed the importance of local ownership, participation, and the capacity of building while attaining economic growth. So next is we're going to talk about the central themes of people-centered development. So let's start off with sustainability. Sustainability is an inherent component and explicit goal of people-centered development, in which that people-centered development calls for the establishment of self-supporting social and economic systems, which are actually the key elements to have a sustainable society. This also stated that people-centered development is the only way to achieve a sustainable community. So expanding beyond the environmental scope and sustainability, it advocates a small-scale community actions in order to enhance an economic self-reliance and to also create reliable sources of income. It also calls for debt reductions and blames excessive long-term foreign debt financing for the cyclical repayment burdens and policy impositions that inhibit sustainable development is okay. David Corton claims that people-centered development is the only way to develop a sustainable community. He also criticized that the common development practice of increased economic output through natural resource depletion. Corton also advocates sustainability in the financing of development projects and the relationships of external assistance. He calls on external development partners to support objectives chosen by the people and building communities' capacity to manage resources and meet local needs independently. So let's talk about participation. So in the context of people-centered development, the central elements of participation include four. We have the democratic processes. Next is government accountability. Third is the access to relevant information. And lastly is gender equality. So democratic processes are essential to people-centered development because they allow communities to create their own development goals and influence the decisions that determine their quality of life. And community participation and true democratic process demand that people have the means to hold government officials and public institutions accountable. This requires that the governments act as enablers for the people's agenda, creating policies that enhances the citizens' action. So basically, communities must have access to relevant, reliable information in order to make the best decisions for themselves and also their communities. True democratic processes can only be achieved when men and women are represented equally. People-centered development necessitates equality in the roles of men and women, a systemic problem in many developing nations. And according to the OECD noted several reasons why women are essential to sustainable people-centered development. So next, the last but not the least central theme of people-centered development is justice. So in the context of people-centered development, the elements of justice include 1. Local ownership, 2. is sovereignty of the people and government enablement, 3rd is employment and income generation, and that's basically it. The role of external development partners is to enhance developing countries' capacity to meet sustainable development requirements. This strategy emphasizes the need for the local ownership so that communities have a responsibility and control over their resources in order to benefit themselves, and also stresses that the role of the government as enablers for the people's agenda. And according to David Corten, individuals have a greater incentive to pursue sustainable environmental practices. This is when resources are locally owned. So in addition, he says that people-centered development rejects or ignores the right of one person's to self-enrichment based on the appropriation of the resources which another person's survival depends. The Japan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs adopted a strategy of people-centered development in 1996, citing the concepts of growing centrality at an international development conferences. So as we all know that Japan is one of the considered as one of a developed country, and yes, it is proven that people-centered development could lead an improved quality. One good example is Bhutan. Bhutan is a good country level example of a PCD or people-centered development principles globalizing on their own terms. Indigenous peoples living traditional lifestyle, effective rejecting most of what the West has to offer is another good example. So that's all. Thank you so much for listening, and God bless.